الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. أما بعد. Last time we began this lesson, the series of this kitab of Imam Tirmidhii rahimahullah, in which he has compiled a collection of ahadith regarding the physical attributes of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and many other things. A brief overview was given of the kitab last week, and we reached the end of hadith number 4. So this week we'll be continuing from hadith number 5. So this first chapter, the entire chapter, it covers the physical attributes, the appearance of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So in some of the hadith, you might seem like repetition, but certain Sahaba radiallahu anhum have mentioned certain aspects of the appearance of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So these ahadith in this first chapter, or collectively they cover the appearance. They give us somewhat of an appearance of what Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam would have looked like. And naturally, when a person he loves somebody, he wants to know every detail regarding that person. So when we study these ahadith and when we learn, we talk about them, it will build that connection with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and the love of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam will enter into our hearts. Some scholars have mentioned, after studying this ahadith, after going through these ahadith, they have come to see Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in their dreams. Even though it's not the purpose of the study, but they will come. The entire chapter will come later on regarding seeing Rasulullah, the dreams, regarding the dreams, and seeing Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in the dream. So we'll continue from here. Hadith number 5. وبه قال حدثنا محمد بن إسماعيل قال حدثنا أبو نعيم قال حدثنا المسعودي عن عثمان بن مسلم بن هرمز عن نافع بن جبير بن مطعم عن علي بن أبي طالب رضي الله عنه قال لم يكن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم بالطويل ولا بالقصير شثن الكفين والقدمين ضخم الرأس ضخم الكراديس طويل المسربة إذا مشى تكفأ تكفؤا كأنما ينحط من صبب لم أر قبله ولا بعده مثله صلى الله عليه وسلم. So in the fifth hadith is a narration of Ali radiallahu anhu, and Hazrat Ali radiallahu anhu was very close. He was a relative of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and majority of his life he spent seeing in the company of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So he reports that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was neither very tall nor short. He says, "Lam yakun bit-tawil." He was neither tall wala bil-qasir, like he was mentioned in the previous ahadith. Again, elaborating this point. Shathnul kaffayn wal qadamayn. This kaffayn refers to the the wal qadamayn refers to the feet. So Shathnul kaffayn wal qadamayn refers to that the soles of his feet were fully fleshed. They had not exactly big hands, but he had flesh. His hands were fully fleshed. ضخم الرأس, and this indicates that when you say Shathnul kaffayn wal qadamayn, implies that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam had a lot of power, indicates strength, and it indicates courage from this. Shathnul kaffayn wal qadamayn. ضخم الرأس, and Ra's refers to the head. ضخم الرأس, his head was large. Most the translators have translated his head was large. So Hazrat Ali radiallahu anhu was saying this, his head was large. In the commentary, the commentators have mentioned this is dalilun ala kamal al-quwwa al-dimaghiyya. That this implies that the Nabi had his brain power or his intellect was very good, and this is what is implied from the word ضخم الرأس, or can literally mean that Nabi had a large head. ضخم الكراديس. Again, the word ضخم means he has large. Karadis refers to joints. So he was not as were the joints of his bones. So also the joints of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they were large. طويل المسربة. طويل المسربة refers to the line. There was one line of hair from the chest of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam going down to the navel. Apart from this, the more hadith will come regarding this, the hair of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. What Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam wasn't very hairy. He didn't have a lot of hair on his chest, but he had one thin line of hair going from the chest down to the navel. إذا مشى, when he used to walk, تكفؤا, and this word has come before, and again describe another hadith describing the walk of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So when Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam walked, slightly another explanation has come here. كأنما ينحط من صبب. When he walked, it appeared as if he was descending from a high place. As if he was descending from a high place. So like was mentioned last week, as if he was leaning forward, and the other Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam was slightly leaning forward, and as if he was descending from a high place. لم أرى قبله ولا بعده مثله صلى الله عليه وسلم. And I never saw anyone before him or after him like Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Remember, at the demise of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Hazrat Ali wasn't that old. He lived many years after the demise of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So he was saying in his lifetime, he spent a lot of time seeing Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam when he was young. So he had a very good memory of spending time with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But never again in his lifetime did he see anyone that looked like Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And many of the Sahaba that have mentioned this, that we never seen anyone like Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and this is not an exaggeration, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had bestowed Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam with such such beauty and such excellence that there was no one like Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You could not compare Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to any other individual. And to an extent, Hazrat Sayyidinaa Aisha radiallahu anha is reported from her that she narrates that if the friends of Zulaykha, at the time of Yusuf alayhi salam, going back to the story of Yusuf alayhi salam, when he was adopted by the Aziz of Misr, the king of Egypt, and later on, when long story cut short, then his wife, she tries to seduce Yusuf alayhi salam, and then after this, the word spreads out, and people start to talk bad about her. So what she does is she invites all the people, all these women that start to gossip about her, and when she invites them for a banquet, and when she also tells Yusuf alayhi salam to enter. By looking at the beauty of Yusuf alayhi salam, they had knives and they had fruit to cut, but they were so immersed in the beauty of Yusuf alayhi salam, they began to cut their hands. So Aisha radiallahu anha, she says, if the woman, the friends of Zulaykha, could see the blessed face of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they would have cut their hearts instead of their hands. This is how beautiful Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was. And we get other hadith in which the Sahaba radiallahu anhu, they mention that they looked at the face of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they looked at the full moon. They again looked at the face of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they looked at the full moon. And they came to the conclusion that Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam was more beautiful than the full moon. That you'll come across this phrase later on. يَتَلَأْلَأُ وَجْهُهُ تَلَأْلُؤَ الْقَمَرِ لَيْلَةَ الْبَدْرِ. His face used to shine like the يَتَلَأْلَأُ وَجْهُهُ تَلَأْلُؤَ الْقَمَرِ, like the shining of the moon on the night of a full moon. Moving on to the hadith number 6. وبه قال حدثنا سفيان بن وكيع قال حدثنا أبي عن المسعودي بهذا الإسناد نحوه بمعناه. And this hadith number 6 has also been narrated with a similar chain of narration. And وبه قال حدثنا the next hadith is a very long hadith in which a lot of detail has been mentioned, or probably one of the most lengthy narrations, or in which which there is a lot of description of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. وبه قال حدثنا أحمد بن عبدة الضبي البصري وعلي بن حجر وأبو جعفر محمد بن الحسين وهو ابن أبي حليمة والمعنى واحد. قالوا حدثنا عيسى بن يونس عن عمر بن عبد الله مولى غفرة قال حدثني إبراهيم بن محمد من ولد علي بن أبي طالب رضي الله عنه قال كان علي إذا وصف رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال لم يكن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم بالطويل الممغط ولا بالقصير المتردد وكان ربعة من القوم ولم يكن بالجعد القطط ولا بالسبط كان جعدا رجلا ولم يكن بالمطهم ولا بالمكلثم وكان في وجهه تدوير أبيض مشرب أدعج العينين أهدب الأشفار جليل المشاش والكتل أجرد ذو مسربة شثن الكفين والقدمين إذا مشى تقلع كأنما ينحط من صبب وإذا التفت معا بين كتفيه خاتم النبوة وهو خاتم النبيين أجود الناس صدرا وأصدق الناس لهجة وألينهم عليكة وأكرمهم عشرة من رآه بديهة هابه ومن خالطه معرفة أحبه يقول ناعته لم أر قبله ولا بعده مثله. The rest of the hadith in which Imam Abu Isa explains what the certain words mean in this hadith. I'll just read because it's part of the kitab. قال أبو عيسى سمعت أبا جعفر محمد بن الحسين يقول سمعت الأسماعي يقول في تفسير صفة النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم الممغط الذاهب طولا وقال سمعت أعرابيا يقول في كلامه تمغط في نشابته أي مدها مدا شديدا والمتردد الداخل بعضه في بعض قصرا وأما القطط فشديد الجعودة والرجل الذي في شعره حجونة أي تثني قليلا وأما المطهم فالبادن الكثير اللحم والمكلثم المدور الوجه والمشرب الذي في بياضه حمرة والأدعج الشديد سواد العين والأهدب الطويل الأشفار والكتل مجتمع الكتفين وهو الكاهل والمسربة هو الشعر الدقيق الذي كأنه قضيب من الصدر إلى السرة والشثن الغليظ الأصابع من الكفين والقدمين والتقل أن يمشي بقوة والصبب الحدور يقال إن حدرنا في صبوب وصبب وقوله جليل المشاش يريد رؤوس المناكب والعشرة الصحبة والعشير الصاحب والبديهة المفاجأة يقال بدهته بأمر أي فجأته به. So this hadith has been narrated by Ibrahim ibn Muhammad radiallahu anhu, and he was one of Ali radiallahu anhu's grandsons. Ali radiallahu anhu was previously mentioned. What of his grandsons, not from Hassan Hussein. Hazrat Ali radiallahu anhu, after the demise of Fatima radiallahu anha, he was married. He had other grandsons as well. He had other sons and besides Hassan and Hussein. And so one of those grandsons, Ibrahim ibn Muhammad radiallahu anhu, he mentions whenever. So he narrates from his Ali radiallahu anhu. Whenever Ali radiallahu anhu described the noble, because obviously these were too young at the time. So whenever Ali radiallahu anhu described the noble features of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he would say that Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, again mentioning the height of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, بالطويل الممغط. بالطويل, he wasn't tall, but again a lot of extra words. The Arabs, they would go into very detail. So there are many words in Arabic to describe very unique features. بالممغط is another one. So here the saying, he wasn't very tall. ولا بالقصير, and again another word has been added here in this hadith. المتردد, he wasn't very short. فكان ربعة من القوم, so he was neither tall neither short, but he was of a medium stature. وَلَمْ يَكُنْ بِالْجَعْدِ الْقَطِطِ, and here again referring to the hair, and his hair was neither very curly nor very straight, but had a slight wave. Another thing mentioned regarding the hair here, which I never mentioned last time, a lot of people are under this impression that Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam always kept short hair. But if you look at the ahadith of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, in regard describing the hair of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he has also always mentioned that Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam kept long hair, kept a zulfa. So the scholars have mentioned that this is sunnah, and the only time it has been established that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam complete his hair halaq was when Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam went for Hajj or Umrah, in which the halaq obviously as a part of Hajj and Umrah, when you come out of the ihram, you cut the hair completely, halaq, or you do qasr, which Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam's hair was short. Besides this, Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam always kept long hair either to the earlobes or past the earlobes to the shoulders. But Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you'll find that all the time he always kept long hair. So وَلَمْ يَكُنْ بِالْجَعْدِ الْقَطِيدِ وَلَا بِالسَّبْطِ. So Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it wasn't very curly, neither was he completely straight, but he had a slight wave in it. It was between the two. كَانَتْ جَعْدًا رَجِلًا. And this word has all come before as well. Can be described like it was mentioned last time. وَلَمْ يَكُنْ بِالْمُطَهَّمِ وَلَا بِالْمُكَلْثَمِ وَكَانَ فِي وَجْهِهِ تَدْهِيرٌ. So and Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam did not have a big body. That's why it means bil mutahhami. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he wasn't very he wasn't fat. He never had an over excessive big body. Wala bil mukalthami, and he didn't have a very round face. Wa kana fi wajhihi tadwir. There was roundness in his face, in the face of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam didn't have a completely round face. So the face of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was not completely round, like circular. Neither was he completely like straight, but he was slightly round, but in between completely circle, like a circular face. But he had a bit of roundness, and he wasn't completely straight. And abyadu mushrabun, describing the complexion. What color was Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Is meant to come before. So abyadu mushrabun. He was white, but mushrab literally comes from shariba yashrabu, drunk, but he had a bit of redness. White, which was inclined towards redness. So you get two types of white. From the people in the West, you have white, more towards a yellowish color, and the Arabs are white, reddish. So white, which was a bit reddish. Ad'ajul aynayni. And his Mubarak eyes were extremely black, with long eyelashes. Ahdabul ashfari, Nabi had long eyelashes. Jalilul mushashi wal katidi. His body joints, the joints of the body, the elbows, the knees, and etc., were large. Ajrad, and also including the meaning of Jalilul mushashi wal katidi. And these joints were large and they were fully fleshed. The part between the shoulder blades was fully fleshed. Ajradu, Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam had no excess hair on his body, like just mentioned in the previous hadith, had no excess hair. Du masrubatin, this word came in the previous hadith, and Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam had one singular line of hair from going down from the chest towards the navel. So you get some people that have a lot of hair on their body. The Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam did not have a lot of hair on the body. Just what has been mentioned is that one line of hair going from the chest down to the navel. Shathnul kaffayni wal qadamain. The hands and the feet. Kaffain refers to the palms, the hands. Wal qadamain refers to the feet. Shathnul kaffayni wal qadamain. That the hands and the feet of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam were fully fleshed. Idha masha, now referring to the walk of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. إذا مشى تقلع كأنما ينحط من صبب. That when Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to walk, he used to lift his legs تقلع with vigor, never like slowly, with vigor. كأنما ينحط من صبب. And here he has been as if he was descending. ينحط, he was descending from a slope. He was walking downwards. He was descending. And this part really important. وإذا التفت التفت معا. Whenever he would face somebody, if somebody would come to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to visit or to talk to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam from the right or from the left, he wouldn't just turn his face, look at him, or just give him a glance. He wouldn't just do this or look around, but he would turn completely iltafata ma'an, body and face that person. So this was the beautiful akhlaq, the character of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The Nabi would completely turn towards that person. بين كتفيه, between the shoulder blades, خاتم النبوة, there was a seal of prophethood. And Nabi Sallallahu had this unique sign of prophethood which was on his shoulder blades. A chapter will come on that. What was that seal of prophethood? But the scholars, just one thing I'll mention now, it was like a protruding piece of flesh that could be seen on the shoulder blades of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And at the time, you had certain people that came to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to look at this, because this was a sign of prophethood, and they would come specifically just to look at this. If you can remember correctly, Hazrat Salman Farsi radiallahu anhu, he came particularly to just look at this, and after seeing this, he embraced Islam. And وَهُوَ خَاتَمُ النَّبِيِّينَ, and Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam was the seal of all prophets, that there is no prophet after Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. أجود الناس صدرا. Ajwad, it comes from the meaning that he was generous. Sadran, chest, meaning Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam was the most generous. وأصدق الناس لهجة, from أصدق comes from sidq. He was the most truthful. لهجة, in terms of speech. وألينهم عريكة, and he was most kind-hearted and came from a most noble family. وَأَلْيَنَهُمْ عَرِيكَةً, he was most kind-hearted, that everyone that would like to sit with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam would like to sit in the company of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And وَأَكْرَمْهُمْ عِشْرَةً, and he came from a most noble family. The lineage of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the family of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, were very noble. مَنْ رَآهُ بَدِيهَةً هَابَهُ, whoever laid eyes upon Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, whoever saw Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam suddenly, هَابَهُ, he would immediately become awe-inspired. They say the ru'b, the Arabic ru'b, هَابَهُ, he would become inspired. وَمَنْ خَالَطَهُ مَعْرِفَةً أَحَبَّهُ, and who inspired regarding this, that whoever saw Rasulullah, Nabi Sallallahu had such a remarkable personality, that whoever came and he saw Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, that their hearts, that for the first time they would be overcome by a feeling of profound respect. وَمَنْ خَالَطَهُ مَعْرِفَةً أَحَبَّهُ يَقُولُ نَاعِتُهُ, and the people that describe Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they again, like this is mentioned in the previous hadith, say لَمْ أَرَى قَبْلَهُ وَلَا بَعْدَهُ مِثْلَهُ, that I never witnessed anyone before him or after him like him. There was nobody like. They would all come to say that I've never seen anyone like him before, or neither after him. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the ability to understand correctly these ahadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and let us increase our love for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and also allow us to talk about Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam more often, and to bring his sunnah into our lives and live a life according to the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So inshallah next week we'll carry on from this next hadith. آمين وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين.